Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to thank all of you for volunteering today. This is a new thing that we're doing at the State Fair, the Mobile Soils Classroom. And we've got a few demonstrations that we've constructed right now. This time next year we'll probably have a bunch more that'll be available. So today what I wanted to do is orient you a little bit with how to use the trailer over there. We're going to go over and we're going to show you how to open it and unlock it and how to lock it back up and how to put everything back in there. What we've done is we've placed the different demonstrations in their own boxes. And so all you'll have to do is go in there and find the box that you want for the demonstrations you want to run and pull them out. So I've got two of them right here, and the first thing we have is showing the relative size of the different soil particles. And so you could start out by talking about this chart, talking about what is soil made of and going through these different components, and then you could show them. Now we're not completely set up. We're going to replace the white balls in here with rice, and so we will have our sand grain, and these large balls here will be silt, and then about half of this will be filled with rice, and that will be the clay. And so you'll be able to show kids the relative sizes of those particles, and they can understand how small, because when they go to texture the sample in their hand and they feel the grit in there and they see how small an individual sand particle is, and then they can see here how big it is. So we've got these boxes set up for these things. Then in this box here, we've got texture samples from 3 different soils. And we tried to pick some soils that had different textures that we want to demonstrate. We got a Cecil, our state soil. And this is a clay texture in here. And then we have a Blanton. This is a loamy sand in here. This is going to demonstrate our sandy soil. And then we have something in between. We have a loamy soil here. I think it's a sandy clay loam, and this is a soil called Fannin. So we've got those samples, and we can just open these up. I would probably suggest doing this, since this is a hands-on type demonstration, is perhaps doing it here at the end of the table so the kids can gather around, the people, whoever are doing it, can gather around, and they can get a little bit of the soil in their hands. And in the box here, we got a bunch of little sprayers. So all your audience can pull a little bit of sand in there, spray it, moisten it up, and feel the properties. Depending on your audience, if it's young kids, you might just be talking about sandy, loamy, and clayey, and not go into all the individual textures in here. If you got an older audience that's more sophisticated, you can actually talk about the texture triangle. You're going to have to tailor your speech to your audience, and it will change constantly during the day. So sometimes you're going to have a lot of kids here, other times you'll have more adults. If you get an older audience and they seem interested, you can actually go through this whole procedure here for analyzing texture by the feel and run them through the chart. So have them put a little bit of soil in their hand, moisten it up, and then start working through this chart. And this is a flow chart that's kind of a yes-no thing all the way through, and it'll get you to the texture. Another thing we're going to be doing, and if I get a couple of volunteers to come up, we'll set this up. Oh, by the way, I got a whole bunch of handouts here that are laminated, have a texture triangle on one side, and they have this flow chart on the other. So this is a tool you can use if you got an audience you think that is ready for that.
It's not a giveaway.
You want to keep it because these are all laminated. But if I can get a couple people to help me, we're going to put together some shake jars today. And what we have here is each of these soil samples. So if you'll take that and it might be faster, just dunk this in that bucket over there.
Well, I have
Or do you have a scoop?
cups.
Oh, okay. Go ahead and fill these up to about the top of the tape here. And what we're going to do is we're going to shake these. And we want them to settle out. And then we're going to have these with water in them also. These are going to be our demonstrators. We're going to have them sitting on the table and they're going to settle out. Now we have, the soil's been finely ground and we have a flocculant in here.
So what was that waste? I was wondering about whether that's part
That's alum, which is what they use at water treatment plants to settle out all the solids. So we got a scoop of, like a teaspoon of alum in there. And we're gonna shake it good and lay it on the table. And you can put it behind the sample. But put it back far enough that no one's going to pick it up. Then you can get, if you guys want to fill these up, put about that much water in, just enough to about to there. And what we're going to do with these are the ones you can let the kids shake it up. All right? And they can see about the shaking part, and then this will be the ones that'll settle out, and you don't want to have them touched. So when you first get to the,
more water than that.
you're going to need a lot more. You're going to need enough to get it to.
Where water go?
You're going to need enough to get those to work. But the kids will have fun. The kids will have fun actually shaking the jar. So when you first get to whoever the first person in the morning out, and if they've been laying sideways, you may have to reshake them. If they look fine, just leave them. Okay? And these will show, the idea is that they will layer out and you'll have your largest soil particles on the bottom and the finest on top. And you can actually be able to see that. The sand one, you'll have a thick sand layer. You'll have very, very little clay in it. The clay you won't even see any sand in it.
And the idea is to ask your audience which soil particle you think on first. Why? And then just see if it'll convey. What's the next one? Why is it still cloudy? Why is that water not clear? You know, I was just thinking I have a boom box and we should have that song, Shake It Up, Baby. I mean, wouldn't that be fun? Yeah, I have batteries. I wrote it down.
So this will be a fun exercise for a young audience. Everyone will appreciate it. This is probably something you want to set up and leave out the whole time you're here. And then in between, as long as there's someone signed up for the station later on, you can leave it here. And you can leave it out and the next group can come by. Sheila got some tablecloths, and that might be at the end of the station. You can lay a tablecloth over it, kind of cover it up so no one disturbs it, because there may be an hour that nobody's here before the next person comes. I think we have it set so there's an hour in between the different shifts, so that if you're working 2 shifts back to back, you'll have time to go get some food, take a break. Any questions about any of this?
I was trying to get that alum activated. What is this? What are we doing here?
That's just to shake it. It's so the kids can know about what we did here, and you give them something to do. You can ask for volunteers to shake it up, and you say yeah, and then in 5 hours it'll look like this.
Hope you have more soil. You have more soil than it's there.
Yeah, we have more. There are bins back here. There's 5-gallon buckets you'll have to open up. I think we took the lids off of all of them, so they're just laying loose on top. with these soil names. There's not a huge amount back there. We're hoping it's enough to get us through the fair. So don't let people take big handfuls, and if they can, if they're not mixing it between the types, they can throw it back in there afterwards. Try to conserve it, because we will definitely run out if we don't have a 5-gallon bucket of this soil. So we're going to have to watch it a little bit.
So none of the shake jars get poured out, right? Jars stay.
They're all set up now.
Tight. And I'm just worried about the cups with the handles, because the little pop top might pop. We just don't want to get covered with sea soap because it'll stain.
Tape it shut.
Well, we're gonna tape. Yeah, I'm taking notes of everything we still need to do. And if you have great ideas, throw them in.
Okay, our next box, and this is something you're going to want to get out early on. This is your aggregate, this is your soil filtration exercise. And we've got 2 little demonstrators here. And we've got, in this one here, we have clay in these 2 chambers. In this one we got sand. And then we built another one where we got sand and I think this one was just some like a sandy loam topsoil. It's got the organic matter in it. This one doesn't have the organic matter. And then this one's a loamy soil. And what we're going to do with these is we're going to put some water in here that has a dye. And we're going to see, does soil provide any filtering? And once this has been run once, it's going to work good. And these ones are dry, so they're going to take a while. These ones we used yesterday, so they're still moist and they'll work faster. But you just want to put some water in the top. And when they're dry, you'll have to put more in there because you got to moisten all the soil up. And this is something you
It's coming out.
Sand's coming out.
The filter's coming off the bottom and breaking.
Oh, maybe the gauze broke.
yeah, okay. Well,
It's repair time.
we'll have to do a repair on that. And these worked good yesterday. We're already getting liquid coming through here. Now the other thing this shows a little bit is how soil texture affects water movement, and that the sandy soils are allowing water to go through the fastest. And what we're going to see here is that you're going to see that this is basically going to be unchanged as it goes through. It's going to be the same color. And yesterday what we found on this one is on these ones it turned yellow. It actually changed the color. So to make green dye, what colors do we have to use? You're going to have to use yellow and blue. And then you can talk, if you got a more sophisticated audience, you can be talking about the charge on clay. And so what would the clay attract and hold on to? Something with an opposite charge. So I doubt you're going to have a lot of audiences that are that sophisticated.
You never know. A rocket scientist.
But you never know. You may have some real smart people come through here and you can talk about that. I think the kids will just be fascinated at how the color changes as it passes through there. And the fact that soil is a filtering medium. That when you're putting your septic tank out there and your waste out there, it's not that waste isn't going unfiltered into the groundwater where someone's going to have to drink it, but the soil's actually treating it. And so this is a demonstration to kind of show that fact. I think it's going to take about 20 minutes. So you might set it up, pour the water in here, wait till you think you've got enough in there, then go to that when you get an audience and say, okay. So this might be something you're going to do as soon as you get to the station, is set these up. And you, just for demonstration purposes, you can always pour just a little bit of water in each of these, but they'll already have water come through them. Any questions on that? We got a pretty good size container here. There's water in this container. To get more water, if you go to that building back there, it's got the windows on it. Inside, you go inside that, and there's a bathroom, and there's a kitchen in there, I think. And I don't know where it is, but you can ask some directions, and you'll be able to get more water if you're short. You don't want to use there is a pump back here, and we used that yesterday, and the water was really high in iron. It was coming out reddish looking, so that would not be something you'd want to be putting into these things. So don't get that water. We have more food coloring in here, so go ahead and use the green food coloring if you need to mix some more up. I'll probably mix this up so it's full before I leave today. So anyone who's doing it the early part of the week, you should have plenty of water in here for it. And now here's some of the water that we took out that was filtered through, and you can see how yellow that is. And that's some of this is what you're going to end up with. So, and these are the two components that produce this. So you can again show that if you want. Any questions with running this demo?
I have little funky write-ups on each demo, except for slate test time. And I wrote it without seeing Rich do it, so but hopefully we're on the same page. It'll jog your memory at least. And if you see any inaccuracies or misinformation, yeah, you'll leave with a black and white draft copy. And if you have edits, please let us know and we'll make changes.
This is going to stay with the station, and this is detailed information on running each of the demonstrations. So if you have a question about something, they are in here, and this will be in one of the boxes to stay with you. Okay, now we got another demonstration that's interesting. This one is demonstrating aggregate stability. And we've got 2 jars here that we're going to fill with water. And then we've got some pads, and we got 2 containers here. And these are collected near Creedmoor, North Carolina. This is White Star soil, and we've got one that's in continuous regular tillage, and we got one that for the last 18 years has been in no-till. And this is from the surface horizon. This would be your AP horizon on this one. This one you'd probably still call it an AP because I'm sure it was plowed at one time. And you'll still be able to do that if you actually looked at a profile out there. So what we're going to do with this is first we're going to put the water in these. And we want to fill these up high enough that the entire ped is covered by the water. And this little screen here will keep it from falling down. And then try not to mix up these lids.
Maybe I'll mark the bottom.
We need to mark the box.
I think we need to, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Because
Didn't get that far.
the no-till is darker. No surprise there. But try to find two PEDs that are roughly the same size in here. And then place them at the same time. Try to get them entirely on the screen so they're not hanging off. Just top it up if you need to make sure that they're entirely covered by the water. And you very quickly see some results. You can see here, this is the conventional tillage. Look what's happening to that. It's not holding together very good. And then from there you can talk about why structure in the soil is important. And what happens if you lose your structure in the soil. So those are some talking points. This is one of two that we have that deal with no-till and showing the benefits of no-till. A lot of people don't understand that no-till is more than, oh, you just don't have to go out there and spend all the gasoline going up and back your field tilling it up. That there's other benefits. So again, this is something you can run. It'll actually sit there for a while. We've got big containers of these if this is short in supply. There's some big boxes in there that are labeled for both of these. Some of the PEDs are pretty big in there, so you maybe need to break them up. We want something that's about 1 inch by 1 inch, 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. Otherwise, it'll be too big to fit in these. Any questions running any of these? Okay, the last one we're going to show today is the most time consuming to set up. And we've got two toolboxes that have the parts in it. And these are all, every box is labeled, and then on this also it's labeled. And all the parts are in here, and I purposely waited to set this up because I wanted you to see how we're going to piece all this stuff together today to form that. And what we've got in here is a couple trays. Sheila, are these marked well?
Yes, it's on the, yeah, it's marked on the back.
Okay,
So
yeah.
This is the continuous, and that's the nose.
So they are marked on the back as to what you're dealing with here. Now what these are stainless steel, and they were collected locally in, is this Wake County?
Brinkley Farms in Creekmore, North Carolina.
Okay.
I got them.
And these were just pushed down into the soil to the surface. And so you have a core that's about that thick. And then we're going to put together our little rainfall demonstrator.
Are the heads from the same field?
Yes. And
Well-
that's part of your spiel.
Adjacent. One is 18-year no-till. The other one is continuous conventional tillage. Same surface texture, very close apart, right, Sheila?
Yeah, they were very close. Field, one was a vegetable field, and one was continuous no-till. Same farm, same track. Same, trying to stay close.
We're gonna rain on it.
So what we've got is we have a tray here that, see it's raised on one side? That's going to provide some slope. So that needs to be in the back. Okay? So we're going to set these up. Next to each other. And then we're going to place this
Gotta kind of fit the little legs.
Legs inside the plant.
Without cracking.
and you got to be sure to put them in the right way. This needs to point towards the front.
Yeah, that lip.
So they'll fit inside there. And then we have a little basin here to catch runoff. And so what we're going to be demonstrating here is infiltration into the surface. How much is actually getting into the soil to use for the crops to use? How much of it's going to run off and be wasted? Okay, then on top, we're going to fit these. And if you look in the soil, you're going to see, you can see some little holes where these fit, and that'll push down into the soil. But rest that on top. And then here, we have a plastic container that has little holes drilled in it.
Does that matter?
And we have the back map, and this has got these little spacers here, and you want to have the higher part towards the front, so you're actually putting more water towards the back and a little bit less towards the front. It's going to be a little more resistant to runoff. Here's the rain clouds, and you want to try to get an identical part so somebody can start making the thundering noise, and then boom, and then the rain hits. So you pour your water in there.
Yes, it works so much better.
This one's actually running faster.
Don't say
And a lot of these holes, I'm going to have to run a drill through there again.
yeah, we had a
I'm not sure why. There's holes in here, but they're not as many working.
This is brand new, we just got it, and yeah, and we had no rain really yesterday, even though they were drilled, but they had drilled from the bottom, creating little volcanoes, so the water can go into them. Anyway, and so he re-drilled them this morning, Rich did. But
The holes are there, but the water is not passing through the holes. So if anyone here knows a little more about physics than I do, maybe you can figure this out.
Well, it's water tension, the surface tension of the water.
Maybe fill them up with more water?
There's
just from
something
the
that
weight of the water?
Yeah, the weight of the water.
Okay.
There's
But I-
something you put in to change that. It might be.
Yeah, maybe it's not enough.
What if we put a drop of,
Yeah.
well, but the thing is, see, like we don't want, there's critters actually alive in here, and we don't want to do anything that's going to harm them. We thought about maybe washing the inside of this out with some detergent and seeing if that would do it, that there may be some type of coating
Maybe we.
Well, this one here, the water ran through it much faster than this way. So,
Do you think we need to drill larger holes? Just, nano millimeter more or whatever?
and probably I needed to put more water in there than I did. So,
Because it's not wet. It doesn't even get, I think we stopped yesterday. So it actually needs to get moist.
There you
And, yes, we'll have to, how to rig it. We'll have to have special instructions on how to rig it. Oh, look at the infiltration.
and this one, it's running out the back. So the table's not level. So that is a problem.
And you
It's
know,
the table's slanting back this way.
when
so-
I do it, I put a towel under them and I give it a lot more slope. And I'll tell you, right off when the clay just goes straight. Right.
Well, if you're doing this inside, your floor is probably fairly level. Out here, we probably got a good 3% slope on this table
It
here.
almost looks like it's going towards you.
It is.
Oh,
This
okay.
corner it ran over. That's
But see, you want it to run towards your audience where those lips are.
right. But the trouble is the low point's in the back on both of
Right.
these.
That's why I usually bring a
So-
towel or something and I.
Again, this is a learning experience.
Yeah.
Here,
We gotta do it.
yesterday we were running them over there, and the tables were slanted different. So I think what we're going to have to do is try to have a board under both of these, and then we can put shims under the back to try to get the slope that we want.
Just get a nice.
But this is obviously something we're going to need to work on some more. So, but you can see how it works, and what you're supposed to see is that you'll actually get a little bit of runoff out of this one. The one that the Wake District has worked really well because you guys were using it, and we had about half the water that was put in the rainfall simulator actually go off as runoff. Not a bit of water from the no-till ran off. It all soaked in.
I think it's just because it's new and it hasn't been used, so I think we need to run it, and I think we really need to up that slope.
And I got to get them to be equal, and they're not equal right now. So
Ah,
So you'll leave us notes on if there's a board that needs to go under it?
yeah, because I guess we'll have to, yes.
there'll be another box or
Do you wanna
something.
try Henry's little funky setup? I mean, it's not half as professional, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could take take this apart and put little pieces of gravel under here and try to
okay.
tweak it. But I'd like to have a setup that when you get here, it works.
You won't
We're going to be leaving the tables in place. So
yeah.
that's going to be here till the fair's over. But where you decide to set it up, I set it up this way so that the texture station was over there. But now that they put this side up, are they leaving that side up? If they are, then it would be fine to have people texturing here. So you could really do either side. That's just a little sunnier over there. So, but then you got to worry about the rocks over there. So,
Right.
all right, let's take a look at what we got here. We can follow up on this. And
Ooh, look at that.
there's our green, and you can see that it really hasn't changed much. So whatever we put in came out the same way.
Talk about those mangrove boards.
And these ones still have water sitting on top, so they're taking their time. But if you look, if I tip them a little bit, you can see that what we're having there is not green.
Yeah.
That in fact it's yellow. And so the blue food coloring has been filtered out. What happened to it? Where did it go?
Okay. You put in green, you get out yellow. Where's the blue? And they're like, they'll be going, you know, it's in the soil. So, yeah.
That happens all the time, right? So I'm glad that happened so you guys can appreciate it. Is Smokey's a little noisy over there? So you may, and I don't know how often that goes off. Constantly?
So we have some.
Is it motion activated or something, or no? It's on timer, or?
Last I heard,
Loop.
the forest rangers were stationed somewhere, and when someone walks up, they're in there saying, "Hi, how are you?"
Okay, and they set it off.
Yeah,
All right,
They play this, and then when someone comes up, they start talking to them.
right.
all right. So you're going to be competing with that.
But say, Smokey loves soil. There'd be no trees, no forest if it wasn't for soil. You know, just, put it out there. Teachable moment.
So these are the demonstrations that we have set up for this year's fair. Do we have any questions about any of them? Well, that's a good question. What is green food coloring made up of? The primary colors, it'll be blue and yellow, and if we poured a little of each of these together, what do we have? We'd have the green. So, we're now pouring that through the clay. So one of these is probably one charge and one's probably other. One's pi positive, one's a negative. And the clay has what charge?
Negative.
Has a negative charge. So which one of these is positive? And so this gets attracted to the clay particles, the clay holds onto it, the yellow passes through. So if you have a more advanced audience, if you have adults, high school kids that are into science, you can actually explain that principle to them. If you have, 8, 9-year-olds here, just talk about soil filtering. And that,
When they ask the question I asked, tell me your answer to that 8-year-old.
What was your question?
you just tell, well, the clay filtered out. You can show them. I have in this box, I have the two components, and you can leave that out here. And you can say that, and you can even take a little cup and pour a little of each of these in there and show them how you can make green food coloring. And then say, but that's what green food coloring is. It's actually blue and yellow, and the blue is being filtered out by the clay. And not go into why, just say it's attracted to the clay, and the clay holds on to it. The clay does not hold on to this, and it passes through.
I think another important thing is not to use our soil like a dump. It does filter water naturally, but we don't want to overwhelm the system with chemicals and whatnot, especially if it's near we have sandy soil and it's near our well or something like that. So we need to use chemicals very carefully and not put them on the soil.
Maybe you could correlate it to a septic system and
Well, that's the other thing is
water filter through.
that would be one of the things to talk about is soil is a filtering mechanism. It's a treatment mechanism that a septic tank is a good example. That the waste from the septic is going to be filtering through the soil. Which would you rather have it filter through? Sand or clay? You can see that the clay is filtering out some of the pollutants. Some of them are still getting through, but you're getting some of them being filtered out. And so that's what we're trying to demonstrate here. And if we lift these up, if you look in here, we've got sand already filtered out to there. It's settled out. These are shake jars for you that got here late. We've got demonstrators here that you can let the kids actually shake. But you can see here that you've got very distinct layers in there. We have a sandy soil, a clayey soil, and a loamy soil that we're using for texture. And we did the shake jars here. These ones that have the high clay, high silt will take a couple hours before you really start to see much happening. And as I told everyone when we started this demonstration, just set this up on your table when you first get here, because it'll take a while, but in about 3-4 hours, these will be settled out good. We just did it today, so it may be that they'll be pretty settled out if they're, as long as they're kept flat in the trailer. Any questions?
Well, okay, it's filtering out the blue, so how about pouring just pouring blue in? Let's see what happens. Right, so there's some inquiry there. So you're saying it filters, well, it may not be that particular dye, but any colonists would want to do that. If they're curious and say, well, okay, if it is filtering blue,
You could try it and maybe it'll come out clear.
yeah, or but blue might come through, and then you can talk about that the soil only has so much capacity to absorb nutrients.
Yes, and that is one thing with these is that there's a set number of times you can use it before you basically fill up the exchange sites, and then you're not going to be having that happen. If that happens, we've got some more of the soil and you can replace it. There's a container in there that's marked topsoil, and that's what we put in here. And this is still, it's still providing that, mostly because of the organic matter in there, is doing the same thing that the clay is doing. Now, one important thing to remember when you're doing this is you're going to have an audience here for a very limited amount of time. You got to kind of gauge how interested they are. I would say most of the time, do one demo and try to wrap it up within 5 minutes so they can move on in the fair. You may have some kids here who are really, really fascinated and want to see all of them, and you can go through them. This one's going to be limited to only a few times a day, because once this is saturated, it's going to overwhelm it. And we got to tweak it still and get the water to go through it equally.
Back to the green pollutant water. It's also said that purple works really well. The blue stays in. But we're not mixing them here. Please don't mix them.
We're going to try, not for the fair, but with the Mobile Soils classroom, we're going to try using grape Kool-Aid. We hear that works really well. Unsweetened grape Kool-Aid. And I think it's red that comes out, and the blue's picked up.
What do we do with the quads that are in the aggregate?
And these, just in the forest here.
I wouldn't have the kids see you do that. Because it looks like it's a throwaway. And
Not in the riprap,
that they try to keep-
but just on the side over here where it's out of the way. No one's going to step in it. Remember that when you're here, you're in charge of this station. So if there's little horseplay going on or anything like that, you need to calm them down. There will be people in the soil and water tent that can assist if you need to. Now, when you first arrive, if you're here in the morning, you're going to need a key. This is going to be all locked up. And so there's this box. This is going to have the keys in it. And if you go inside, if you guys all want to get up now, we're going to go in here and I'm going to show you where to find this. Your name tags will be back here. And if you just come back and look real quick, there's a name tag box, and there'll be an envelope in here with everyone's name tag. They haven't printed the soil scientist ones yet. And the keys will be in this box, okay? So come here to get your name tag, pick up the key, take this with you. Has everyone seen?
They're all beneath.
I got key. Where is it?
This box, there'll be an envelope in here for all the soil scientist name tags.
Oh, okay.
Get your name tag.
Here's the key.
Key is there, and that key lets us into.
We got Teresa's in here.
That lets us
So-
into what?
That opens up the trailer. If you're here, if you're the one who opens up,
In the morning, I will.
yeah, right here in the back of the volunteer area is where the key is. It'll be in this Tupperware container in this box, which has got envelopes in here, and one of them will contain all the name tags for all the soil scientists that are assisting with the Mobile Soils Lab demonstrations.
Okay.
So you get your name tag,
Tag and you get
and
your
if
key.
you're the first one here in the morning, pick up the key. If you're the last one here, put the key in here and return it right to there.
And what, all the materials are stored in one of the trailers?
Yes. We're going to go out there next. So if you want to cut for a minute.
Sorry I got in so late.
That's all right.
I assume these two water containers are no-till soils.
Yes. Well, one's no-till and one's conventional.
Okay, what do we got?
This is conventional. This is 18-year no-till. We had a little trouble with it because the table's slanted.
Are these just backups for those?
Yeah, that was the original ones, and then we made these.
Here's some
So these gonna be up too?
They'll be there, so you can use one or the other.
Just, can I do it really quick? You'll have your own style.
This one actually, it pretty much comes out clear.
This is your style.
Okay.
Look at those. I never have mine over. It's just gorgeous. And I'm just afraid, you don't want them to walk off with anything, and I want them all to be looking at the same demo at the same time, not, walking off, doing it. So that's where green tablecloths, I would just cover it like, we're not doing this one right now, we're focusing on this one.
That's the aggregate stability. This is no-till. That's the conventional.
So I'll put the green tablecloth
Two
somewhere
about the same
on
size and
top of the
75.
box.
I think you can see them like
Just on.
And the 5-gallon bucket that's over here, I had it on this side, but I would put it with the texture
Okay.
and allow people to wash their hands. They can wash their hands in the bucket. And then we've got some hand sanitizer if they want, they can use
We
afterwards.
really need to get
Lots of paper towel.
one to rinse their hands and sanitizer, and one to get clean water for whatever,
Well, that,
like for the slate test. We call this the slate test, and that's the till, no till.
well, we have that container, Sheila, with the water in.
Yeah, okay.
You can get it out of there.
Okay, good.
You call this what?
I call that the slate test. That's what
Oh, the
NRCS
slate
calls
test.
it. SLAKE. And I don't have this one written up yet, but I gave
Yeah, they
you,
heat those.
on
Kids,
your,
and do a real
it's the
slick
last
test
page,
of it.
I think.
Yeah, you got to oven dry
It's
it
just a picture of the setup.
for theirs. What we're doing is,
just haven't had time
we'd
to
actually be
demo.
better if they were a little damp.
And then look at an NRCS and their old time 1950s
Everything happens faster.
soil demo, right up there it was,
Spray it
way
up.
back when.
You got here to
So,
pick one and maybe
How does
spray it with
organic
spray
matter
bottle.
help soil
Set it to the
structure?
side.
Yeah.
So anyway, I gave you that just until I get something else done. Teresa got that from Brinkley Farms in Creedmoor. They're in the northwest corner of Wake County near Durham. And White Store is
It's a Triassic soil,
Triassic soil.
It is white store?
Yes.
and the BT has a very high shrink swell.
Yeah. And do you
It's a
think-
soil that you can't usually put any kind of in-ground system in. You're looking at a spray or drip system.
So he's able to farm it now because of the note. Yeah. And when you didn't say AP, you said AB, you meant the
AP.
Horizon.
The AP Horizon.
The AP.
AP, like
That's what that is.
Gotcha. See,
This here is AP, a white store.
I'm sure it was plowed.
and she also got the.
Even if it's been in no-till for 18 years, if you went and wrote a soil description there, you probably have an abrupt bottom of that horizon where you can see where the plow was, and I'd put a P on it rather than just an A horizon.
Okay.
If it's been in the woods long enough that you no longer can distinctly see an abrupt change in the horizon there, the boundary is not abrupt, then you're looking at just an A horizon.
Now, we do have some other soil peds in boxes, like Rich said, and they are from Charles Davenport in Pitt County and Harry Spruill of Tyrell County and Wesley Moore of Pasquotank County. So those, might be very different, but at least we're trying to get you know, a supply of them.
They are in the trailer.
Okay.
Yes, but we only had so many of these containers, so we brought those out. And they match the white store that's with that no-till tilting.
Sandra just dropped these off here. It's a schedule for the fair. You're all welcome to pick one up. Take it home with you.
Question, we need to have a supply of paper towels around.
We have towels. I didn't bring them out. If you guys all want to come here, I'm going to show you the trailer now. This door here, you're probably not going to need to get in. But we put our heavy stuff in the front of the trailer here. And right now, we're probably not going to need it. So you probably won't need to open or close this. This has a lock on it. And you have to have the key in to open it and to lock it. So the way you close this up, you got to have the key in here. There you go. And if you need to open it, then just reverse.
We still have openings with the soils demos. Like we have no one with me Sunday morning, and we have no one Sunday afternoon that's coming up.
Okay, the boxes that we're going to have, if you guys all want to come around the back here. If you need more soil samples, they're actually in these containers. This one here, I think, has the replacements for what's in there. There's more of that. So if it's low, there's not a whole lot of extra for the Blanton. There's about as much in here as we got out there. So, but those are, it's clearly marked on top. This is the one that you really would be looking at. The other boxes we're going to set right here. So when you get here, if you're the first one, just come and get the boxes, move them. You can set them under the table and then bring them out as you need them. And then at night, you're going to want to lock this up. So it's pretty light. I don't think it'll be hard for anyone to do. Just put it up. Leave the locks on these during the day. So if you're the first one in the morning, unlock it, hook it back. So you'd shift this over.
The hour break will be okay, you think? At lunch, think it'll be okay?
Say what?
The hour break at lunch, think it'll be okay to leave it open?
Yes.
I think so. But you know what? If it's like that, I don't know. But they are curious, and they.
I think if it's closed up, when you're done getting everything out of here for the fair, I would close it back up and just go ahead and lock it, and that protects everything in there.
And we are putting all of this stuff away in there.
So as long as there's somebody scheduled for the next
You're
shift,
saying during
Yeah.
there's going to be an hour in between. You can leave, just kind of clean things up. If you've got anything like the aggregate stability, clean that out. If you have time, you could put water in for the next person. But you can just leave it out. As long as it doesn't look like it's going to rain, you know, it's fair weather, you're in good shape. You can leave it out. There's people at the booth here. Just kind of cover it up with the tablecloths a little bit so that no one messes with it. The next person will come, you should be pretty much set up. Now if you're the closing person at night, you'll need to put everything in those boxes, and the boxes are all marked. Try to keep everything in there really steady, and then come back in here and open up the trailer.
Finger masher, isn't it?
That's all there is to it.
When we come in, we can park up here and
Yep, anywhere that you can find free or in here, if you can have access to it, just watch you don't get parked in over there. Because there's probably going to be more people here when the fair's actually going on. So set the boxes in this little landing area here. These are the boxes where we have additional PEDs for the aggregate stability. So if you need some more, go ahead in here and take what you need. The boxes are marked right here. There's some stuff in here for filter. Here's actually another little demonstration that we were trying using just a coffee filter. So if you wanted to do the blue thing, you could actually do that. You could actually take that cup and pour the blue dye in here and see what happens. I think this is just topsoil. You might want to get one of the more clayey samples in here to run that. There's paper towels. So I'll leave that out here. People to wipe their hands. We've actually got another cutter in here. We haven't used this one yet.
No,
And
that's from a pasture.
that's from a pasture. And is this no-till?
That's White Store from the Brinkley Farm.
And it's been in long-term pasture.
Yes,
Okay.
she just had an extra cutter and I did another one while we're at it.
Okay.
you use those repeatedly.
Well, they're brand new, but we are, we're gonna use
Use
them,
them repeatedly.
but only, yeah, you can't use them 50 times a day, but maybe 2 or 3 times a day. See how they do. We gotta get that one working.
Yeah, we got to work on that. But any questions about any of this? So the
For those of us who are coming in early, my session's at 9:15 Saturday morning. How early can I get into the premise?
I don't know, what time does the fair say it starts? I'll bet you, we can ask. I bet you can get in at 8 if you wanted.
Friday has stuff happening at 8, let's see, Saturday, like,
If you're the first person, you know, you're going to need at least a half hour before you wanted to start your first demonstration. And just kind of, you know, pace the demonstrations. If you need a break, take a break. You don't have to be continually doing demos. 8:30?
So at least you know you have somebody there.
And you all know where the back of the booth is. The booth will be shut, but right on the corner there. It's just a Velcro opening, and you can go in and get your keys and get into the trailer. And hopefully, I haven't found your name tags yet, but I'm looking for it.
And bathrooms or where?
In this building straight out here, this is like looks like a cafeteria or a lunch house when you go into it. But there's men's and women's on the far side of it. There's a porta potty up on the other side of the forestry tent. But there's 2 bathrooms up there. There's bathrooms up there. So it's in that building. It's just a walk.
And then there's another one not too far away that's even nicer. That's what I've heard. So you'll have to just be adventurous.
And so, Rich, I want to make sure we get these up. These are the names. And
Yeah, I'll help you with
Are
that.
you going to help me with that?
Yeah.
And I'm set, and I'm so glad you all are here. Thank you
Yeah,
so
this
much
is
for
wonderful.
coming with the adventure with us, and we'll see how we do.
And people are going to learn about soil. And did you know that the United Nations has proclaimed 2015 the International Year of Soil? So, and then I read somewhere December 5th is World Soil Day. But every day is Soil Day, right? I mean, yeah. So that's our job, is to get them to understand it and appreciate it. This is wonderful stuff. And I'm learning from you guys, and Someday, when you look in here, this will be very organized with Rubbermaid containers, very well color-coded.
We're going to have a whole shelving system built in here. Right now, we don't know what we're going to all have in here, and so we're waiting till we get most of our equipment, and then we're going to custom build some shelving where this will all go in a very neat, organized fashion. It'll be very different. When you see it next year, it should look very, very different.
And we hope, if you have ideas for demos, you might think, why don't they do that one? This one I've seen. We might never have seen it before, so let us know about it. And if one of these just doesn't work, let us know that too, because we'll add some, we'll delete some. Maybe it needs to be turned upside down, inside out. We're all learning, and we'll get it. But we want it to be a great soil show. So, yeah.
Need to know a little something about soil.
You really do.
You do, and that's
Not sure I'm qualified.
well. That's why we asked all of you to help out, because we wanted somebody that could answer the questions. If you got a real stumper question, we want somebody that has enough knowledge to be able to answer it.
We
So
run that fine line. We can't be everywhere to teach every class about soils. So we want to empower teachers too, and there's some wonderful lessons online that are available to them. And RCS has come up with lessons. In fact, a lesson to go with almost every one of our demos. There's one on filtration. There's one called soil water, which is the till, no till. There's one called soil glue, which is really the aggregate stability, the slate test. So there's those. Those are online with lab sheets for them. Boom. And then Liz Driscoll from State University Extension wrote a great third grade curriculum called Soil Solutions. It's available online, the whole kit, the whole guide. It's got tons of lessons. And then she did a high school version called Seed to Soil, or Soil to Seed, and it's all about erosion. So there's a lot of stuff out there, and we just have to point teachers to it. But sometimes once they see you do it, then you learn by observation, and they can hit the ground running maybe when they get back to the lab. But they might need your help finding. What my thing is, I didn't have different soil samples.